Hi, I'm Clay.
Now I'm Sue Matthews.
Hi, Sue. I'm glad you came in.
Thank you for taking time to see me.
You're very welcome. Okay, I know we talked on the phone a little bit, and I understand a little bit about what's going on with you, but before we get started, before we really talk about it, I have to tell you two things, and I have to get your consent.
Okay.
First thing is affects confidentiality. Everything that we say in here is confidential. It will not leave this room. The only reason it would is if I feel there's an imminent threat to yourself or someone else.
Okay.
Do you have any questions at all about confidentiality?
No.
Okay. Secondly, I want to ask you if it's okay if we record this session. I would like to do that because my supervisor watches it and he's able to give me feedback, but only himself, him and me will watch it. And after it's watched, then we would dispose of it. Is that okay?
Fine. It's
Okay. Okay, so I'll just briefly tell you about me a little bit, so you have some. I am I'm married. I have a daughter. I have 3 grandchildren. I spent most of my adult life in the Army. I retired a few years ago. I had a lot of trouble before I went in the Army. I was hanging with a bad crowd. I didn't have any direction. Really, I was very confused and really hurt and didn't know what to do exactly. And the Army gave me the things I needed. And it helped me when I left the Army. It gave me a purpose, it gave me direction, gave me stability, and I felt much healthier. I was not healthy before I went in. So when I got out and I started thinking about a second career, I thought I would like to, if I could in some way share that with other people, that's what I want to do. So that's why I chose this field.
That's good.
Will you tell me something about you and why you are here today?
Well, I had, 5 children and marriage and a home and all that, and I still do. And of course, they're all grown and have their own lives, but I live in the same home where I raised them in a small town, and I have a lot of acquaintances in town, and I just find that my lifestyle has changed since my previous life when I had family at home, and I find myself just wanting to do less and not really being very ambitious about anything or encouraged about anything. So I thought maybe I ought to see someone.
Okay, so let me just see if I understand. You said that since your children have left, you feel less ambitious and less a sense of meaning and maybe sadder. Is this right?
Yeah, sometimes I'm sad.
Could you tell me specifically, if you could tell me on a day where you don't feel good, specifically how you might feel? What are some symptoms you'd feel that day?
Well, we might start with the first thing in the morning. I'm not sleeping well. Sometimes I can't go to sleep, and other times my sleep is disturbed. I can't pinpoint any one particular worry that's responsible for it, but I just don't feel relaxed to sleep or something. And let's see, I don't feel real motivated, as I was already telling you. Don't feel the interest in things and, the pleasure and things that I once remember feeling like a normal younger person. I guess people may say I'm depressed. I want to say that I'm not, but my friends indicate that I might be. And I'm tired. I would just love to lay down and read all the time. I have plenty of yard work to do, plenty of everything else, but that's what I like to do. So.
Okay, so I'll just tell you what I heard. Say, first of all, your sleep is not good. So you're not sleeping enough.
Not enough in one time.
You feel depressed many days, or even if you don't feel it, other people are telling you they feel you seem different. your sense of energy has gone down. You prefer to stay in the bed or not do it work.
Yep.
I think I heard you say that you have, in general, you have some loss of interest in things you used to be interested in.
Yes.
Pleasure. And I also, yeah, I think that was everything that I heard. Okay, can you tell me about the time frame? Can you tell me this has happened every day or?
I can't tell you when it began, but I've reached a point where pretty much this is happening to me. I can force myself out of the house some, and all, but the sleeping problem is about every single night or day, and loss of interest and fatigue, all these things.
What I need to know is the time frame. If you say you had this in a day, would you say that most of the day you feel that way, or just a small portion of the day, or how would you rate it?
Well, it seems to just slightly come and go. I'll think, maybe I'm going to feel better this afternoon, but then I go back into a slump. All in the same day, yeah.
How many days in a row would you say this happened?
Well, I'd say it's been about every day for a while now, if I want to look at it just straight on.
So you'd say maybe more than 2 weeks, would you say?
Probably, yes. Definitely more than 2 weeks.
Okay. So I understood from what you said that this definitely affects you socially, affects you personally. Is that correct?
It's affecting me socially, definitely. My friends are telling me I'm depressed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any medical condition that may have come up recently or that you're aware of, or a surgery or anything that might be affecting these feelings that you have?
No, because I went to the doctor for another checkup, and physically there's nothing big. There's nothing.
Okay. So I'll tell you, this sounds, these are definitely signs of depression. And from the time frame you told me and the symptoms you told me, it's very close to a very serious form of depression. So there's a couple things I want to tell you now that I understand a little bit more. First of all, there's good news when it comes to depression. Nowadays, depression is very treatable. It used to be only 50% was the goal of treatment for depression. 50% of the symptoms gone, but now with new medications and other things, the goal is normally about 100%, and that's normally what is expected.
Really?
Okay. But one of the things that needs to happen is when there is depression, it needs to be treated quickly and aggressively, because what's found is the longer you let it, the longer you try to get a handle on it, the longer it takes, the harder it is to get there. It will take much longer. If you can quickly get a hold on it, there's a greater chance you can get it into remission and you can recover and this type of stuff. So,
Does this take medication?
it doesn't always take medication, but if there are in extreme cases where you have a lot of symptoms, or I would recommend in your case but medication will be part of it.
I don't mean to interrupt, but probably there's better ones than before. I've heard of people. That's why I don't want to face this, but...
Yeah, there is, a lot of people have problems with the idea of medication. And medications are not perfect. Even nowadays, there are going to be improvements in the future and all this, but what we have now is certainly an improvement on what there has been. There's about 4 different types of antidepressants. In the beginning, antidepressants had many side effects. They were effective in some ways, but there were side effects, and so it gave it a bad reputation in some ways.
I agree.
I will tell you, though, from my perspective and my opinion, from what I've seen and what I've read, if you have a serious case of depression, you need to the way to aggressively get a hold of it is through two things. One is medication, and the other is psychotherapy, where I would have you come in to see me, or you could see someone else or something, but you need to talk about why you believe this is happening. You need to talk about the cognitive part of it and why you believe this is happening and try to get to the bottom of it in that way.
I'm not opposed to coming to talk. I'm not opposed to that.
What I would like to do, now that I understand what the problem is somewhat, I want to tell you about what I think the treatment would be. And you've already, basically told me, medication, you're not comfortable with it. But my recommendation would be two parts. One would be psychotherapy, and the other one would be a type of medication. So I want to spend
I can learn about that.
I would like to spend a little bit of time telling you about it.
Okay.
That way, it might ease your mind, and at least it would give you more info on it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so meet the 4 different types of antidepressants. The one I would recommend is one of the newer ones. It's widely used. They're called SSRIs. They're called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. In many cases of depression, we find that the chemical in the brain, the serotonin in the brain, is at a decreased level. Serotonin, one of its main purposes in the brain, this chemical serotonin, is to regulate your mood, regulate happiness. It has to deal sometimes with anxiety. When the rates are low in your brain, it's unable to send these messages that they need through serotonin. It's unable to do that, or they do it at a very weak level. So these drugs called SSRIs, what they do is they boost the serotonin in your brain again. They boost the serotonin, and this allows you these pathways for serotonin to communicate like they're supposed to. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about, there's 5 types of SSRIs.
Okay.
Do you have any questions about what I just said?
No, it sounds like it might not be so bad after all.
So let me tell you about, specifically about the types of SSRIs, and some things about them. So SSRIs, they're not an immediate, they don't have an immediate action. So when you take them, there's normally 2 to 4 weeks, or maybe sometimes longer, for your brain to have this effect. It builds up the chemicals and it builds up the processes to have a full effect, which takes about a month or maybe a little bit longer, sometimes a shorter amount. So that's the first thing you need to know about SSRIs.
Okay.
So out of all the antidepressants, the different types, SSRIs have the lowest rate of side effects. Okay, and I'll talk about side effects in a minute, exactly what they are, but they have the lowest rate. Some people feel no side effects at all when they take SSRIs. Some people do. Another benefit is it's only 1 day, 1 pill a day, so it's much less and easier than it is with other antidepressants. SSRIs have a low rate of danger of overdose. So if you do happen to forget and you take more than one, the rate is, the chance is not high that something negative will happen. Excuse me. Because there are multiple types of SSRIs, they all do the same thing. They all boost serotonin in the brain, which will help with regulating happiness, mood, and this type of stuff. All 5 of these do the same thing. But there's small changes in each of them. There's small, unique differences between each of them, and that's what I want to explain to you, so you have some, you understand it. So the first one I'll talk about is fluoxetine, known as Prozac. Maybe you've heard of that.
I've heard of Prozac.
Okay, so Prozac, it does mainly just like they all do, which boosts serotonin in the brain. But in addition to that, it has an energizing effect on many patients. So for when you have things like depressed mood or very tired, your energy level is low, your attention ability to focus on something, you have less attention. Not only does a drug like Prozac, which all SSRIs is going to elevate your mood, but Prozac specifically will, in many people, it has a energizing effect. So that's one of the parts about it. One thing we haven't talked about, but we'll need to, is if you do have anxiety or you have anxiety at times, we'll need to know that because of Prozac's energizing effect, it can be overactivating for some people and cause problems. Okay. The next SSRI I want to talk about is one called sertraline, which is known as Zoloft.
I've heard of that.
It has it's similar to Prozac in that of course, it boosts serotonin in the brain, but it also has a slight energizing effect. So it does some of the same things as Prozac. The main difference between Zoloft and Prozac is Zoloft can also treat psychotic and delusional depression. So, and we'll talk more about that later. I don't think it applies to you, but if it does, this is one of the specifics, one that could apply to that.
Okay.
The next one is Paxil. It's really called paroxetine, known as Paxil. And one of the differences with it and other SSRIs, instead of activating you or energizing you, it has a calming effect on some people. So if you do have anxiety or you have times when you're anxious, this may be more susceptible to you. It will, in many cases, will elevate your mood, but it will can also sedate you. I shouldn't say sedate, but it should have a calming effect. Citalopram is the fourth. It's known as Celexa. This SSRI has been known to be very effective on individuals over 60 years old. One of the reasons for that is it has a low rate of side effects for individuals that age. So that's one of the main things it's known for, other than it being a good SSRI. The last one I want to tell you about is called escitalopram, or known as Lexapro. What it's known for is it's one of the best tolerated SSRIs. So the side effects, it has the least amount of side effects.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. That's a lot of knowledge that you have there.
It's a lot of information, and maybe it will help you to think about it and think about if it could be beneficial to you or not. One more thing I want to tell you before you do leave. In SSRIs, there are, like I said, there can be side effects, adverse effects. Normally these happen only during the first part, when the drug is gaining full strength. That first 2 weeks to a month, or maybe a little longer, is when you see some of those side effects. Like I said earlier, some people have side effects, some people don't. They don't show any side effects. And the good thing about SSRIs is there's at least 5 different kinds. So if you do have side effects with one, you can switch to another, still get the same benefit, the main benefit, but maybe it could be changed to help you specifically. So the side effects that possibly could happen are nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, headaches, drowsiness, dry mouth, insomnia, nervousness, agitation, dizziness, sexual dysfunction, impact on appetite, and sleep difficulties. So I know that was a lot.
Some of the same things I've already had.
So yes. So hopefully they won't affect you. So that was a lot. I just wanted you to get the information about the drug, maybe to ease your mind.
Yeah. Well, I need to come back.
What I'd like to do now is schedule you to come back in to talk, and then schedule to talk to a doctor so they can talk more about antidepressants with you.